Okay, so we can be pulled up. So all of you are very fortunate that you have got this nice, and you are trying to go up and come back out of the material world. So I congratulate all of you. So this chapter also speaks on that. Arjuna does ask something about spiritual life. So we'll come to that in this chapter. It's very nice chapter. All chapters are nice, and what to do? We are having so much of nice philosophy and nice guidance from Krishna. So he spoke, he's very merciful. The Lord is always merciful. So when we get into difficulties, it's not the Lord is giving us difficulties, it's our own karma, and Maya Devi has to do her part. When you do good things, she gives you good things. When you do bad things, she has to make you suffer for it. That is her job. You can't blame her. You can only blame yourself. So the Lord is very merciful. He's not the one who's punishing us. Please understand that. It's just that we are punishing ourselves because we do something wrong, and then what happens is Maya Devi has to give good for good, karma. Good for good, bad for bad. Okay. So now if you become an associate of Lord Krishna, as Arjuna is, you actually go above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield. To what is the reason he is put into the ignorance? So that Krishna can speak the Gita to Arjuna for our benefit also. And sometimes also, even though you know that you are not the body, what happens is when someone dies in your family, you start crying. You know you're not the body, but you cry anyway because of attachment. And then someone needs to come to you and say, this person who has died is just giving up his body and going into a new body. So then you come, oh yeah, true. So sometimes we go into illusion for a while. That is why it is important to always have devotee friends, so that whenever we go into illusion, the devotee friends will actually encourage us to come back into the same human life and to do things which are beneficial for us, don't do something which is bad for us. So the battlefield of Krishna for the future generations of human beings, for you all, for us, for even our children, and for everyone later on. The man could act accordingly and the perfect the mission of human life. Our mission in human life, I don't have to speak to you. It's quite been said many times. So today, Dhyana Yoga. What is Dhyana Yoga? Dhyana Yoga is, let's carry on. Okay, before we go to this 6.3, someone can take the Bhagavad Gita. Those who have Bhagavad Gita, please take the Bhagavad Gita. Go to 6.1 first. Okay, someone can read the English of 6.1 first.
Text 1. The
Yeah.
Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty.
Thank you. So Krishna is speaking that a person who's doing his duty is the real mystic. Mystic means a person who is spiritual, a person who is endeavoring to go back to the spiritual world. So a person who does his duty but not attached to the fruits. Yes, last chapter I think we came into that situation. Krishna is re-establishing and speaking again, and he works as he is obligated. He is a true in a renounced order of life. What do you mean by renounced order? Meaning that you do not, uh, you're not attached to whatever the in the material world, what you get or you don't get. Whatever you get is okay. Whatever you don't get is okay. You just carry on with your life with the best and do the best of what you can. And it's not a person who goes and lights no lamp, no fire. That means he doesn't do any work and he performs no duty and he just goes to the maybe and meditate and does nothing. That is not actually, Krishna is speaking again, is not a true yogi. Krishna says that a person cannot reach me just by doing nothing. You have to do your duty. So someone goes to 6.2, someone can read please.
What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself to the Supreme, O son of Pandu. For one who can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
Thank you. So a yogi is a person who renounces the desire for sense gratification. You should not have this desire that you want to enjoy the material world. You want to enjoy drinking, example. You want to enjoy doing all the things which are not good for you and which binds you to the material world. So what happens is you become so much attached to material things, so much attached to friends, so much attached to talking gossip, so much attached to things which are not beneficial, let us say. We understand that in Kali we only got maximum 100 years. That also I don't think we'll have. So in this 100 years, make the maximum use of your human life to do what is beneficial. So Krishna is saying, you want to come to me, you want to be a yogi. A yogi is a person who wants to go and connect with his spiritual self, understand himself, understand his spiritual life, understand who he is, understand what actually is. All this you can do is called, if you can do this, is renunciation. Renunciation is not giving up work. Renunciation is giving up attachment. Okay, now we come to 6.3. Someone can read both Sanskrit and English.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Haruruksor Munir Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Yoga Rudasha Tash Yava Samakaranam Uchyate. For one who is in new type in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So if a person is a beginner in spiritual life, what is Krishna is speaking, the one who is a neophyte means beginner, Eightfold Yoga system is the spiritual life that you have to go through. Work is said to be mean, so that means you do your duty. That is the way to start your spiritual life. Do your duty. Don't run away from your duty. And then once you get a little bit advanced in spiritual life, what you have, what is actually uh, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Now, what do you mean? Here you say you have to do work, and here you say you don't have to do material activities. What does Krishna really asking to do? So anyway, Krishna is speaking that one who is elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities. He is not attached to the material activity. That is the person who is advancing. Here you have ladder going up, and here you have the lift going up, and there you have this stair going to Krishna. So which is the easier, the stair or the lift? Supposing you have to go 20 floors, you take 20 floors of stairs or you take the lift, which is easier? So this is the question Krishna is going to speak to you. So then we go to 6.4. What is Krishna speaking? Can someone read the English?
A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities.
Thank you. So 6.3, Krishna is said something. He is explaining in 6.4 that once you become elevated, you renounce all material desires. You do not have material desires. It doesn't mean you do not enjoy. You have here, then it doesn't mean that you do not want to enjoy. Enjoyment is there. A person is there in the life. If he don't enjoy, he will have no mood to live on. Enjoyment is there, but what kind of enjoyment are you trying to get? So then we go to 6.5 and 6.6. So Krishna is speaking in 6.4 that you act not for sense gratification or for fruitive activities. So you do your job as a duty, you do your work as a duty, but not because you want something from it. I know it's very tough, but anyway, let's carry on and see what he says. 6.5, 6.6, someone can read.
Krishna Prabhu, Udharet Atmanam Natmanam Avasadayat Atmaiva Hai Atmano Bandur Atmaiva Ripur Atmana Bandur Atmat Manastasya Yanat Maivat Manajita Manat Manastu Satrutvi Vartita Maiva Satruvat. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So when you can control your mind, you become very happy actually, because you are the master of your mind, and you tell your mind, come, let's do something nice. You know, when you do things nice, you go to supposing you go, like you can see these devotees, they go out and they start singing and chanting, they're very happy. You know, once we went to Mayapur parikram, so then there is this Russian devotees who are also there, you know, from Russia, and they really like to sing and dance in the street. And once even there is one Prabhu who, after going out in the parikram, he comes back, then he'll take one or two people and they'll go and sing and dance in the street again in Mayapur. So you know, they are so attached to it. So I'm not asking you to become like that, but you just understand that they love to do it. It becomes like a very interesting thing. So when you do something which is beneficial to you, you control your mind. Okay, you do this, you do this. In the beginning, your mind said, no, let's go somewhere else. But once you already train your mind to do it, then you actually become it becomes very peaceful. Why? Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that something which you do spiritual, in the beginning it is very tough, but then after a while you get the nectar and it's very blissful. But a thing that you do material, in the beginning it seems very nice, but in the end it's you get tired of it, and then you want something different, and then you start becoming very restless. So in this way, I give you an example. Supposing someone eats something, Then after that, he wants to enjoy the taste. After that, he feels, okay, this taste I've done it. Then they want to eat something different, then something different. Then they start eating some animal, say maybe normal chicken or what. Then after that, they get tired of it. Then they want to eat something wildlife. Then they want to eat something different. So you go to China, you will see restaurants which have wildlife all in cages. Then you order the wildlife and they cut for you and they cook for you. So you see, what is all this? This is all actually sense gratification. In the end, you will never become happy. And then one day, you see this man here, he gets so tired of life, he just hangs himself. So this is what happens when you are so much engrossed in material life. So never think that material things are very nice. It's nice. Then sometimes you get very depressed and you say, no one likes me, okay, I hang myself. Sometimes I fail my exam, oh, I'm very afraid, don't like, I kill myself. And there are so many things that people, their mind becomes, and then you see people, they suddenly lose their mind and you can see them walking in the street and laughing out and like that. Because they're gone. Their mind has always controlled them, and then you see what happens to that. The mind becomes the master and you become like a slave to the mind. So in this way, you do things which are beneficial in your spiritual life. You do things which are good. You do things which are good. Study hard. Go to temple. Pray nicely. Meet meet people who are spiritual. Be friends with people like that. Have people who do all these pleasant things, people in a mode of goodness. Then you'll be happy. This is real happiness, not that you go, near, I have a shop in KL, Campbell Complex, and then downstairs on the first floor, there is one rock music. Malay people, they have a rock music shop, and they put on the rock songs. So when you can't go near, it's like so so strange. I mean, we cannot say anything bad about anyone, but this is things they like. So for you it seems strange, but for them it's very nice. So anyway, to each his own. So that's why you should always control your mind, not let your mind control you. Huh? Okay, someone can read this.
Citat manam prasantasya paramatma samahita sitosna sukha dukeshu tata mana panam yo. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. For to such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same.
Thank you. So if you control your mind, you can see this yogi has controlled the mind. This yogi has controlled the mind and he's thinking only of Krishna. So this is a form of control. There are many forms of control. So if you have controlled your mind and you have already reached Krishna. So for him, for this man, happiness and distress is same, heat and cold is same, honor and dishonor. It doesn't care for happiness or unhappiness. He doesn't care. He doesn't care whether he gets heat or cold. He doesn't care whether he has honor or dishonor. This is actually a very a person who has controlled not only his senses, he's controlled his senses so much that that his body is totally under control. You got see people who can go into Himalayas naked. They are so cool. But then you think yourself, can I reach this stage? I mean, how they can do such a situation? Krishna is saying, yes, you see, they are very great people. So let's see what Krishna says after this. So before we go to 11, 12, Okay, someone can read 6.8. English one.
A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi or mystic when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles, stones, or gold, as the same.
Thank you. So you see, this yogi, for him, nothing is everything is the same. It doesn't matter. These material things are all useless for him. He doesn't really get attached to anything. All he wants to do is to attain the supreme, and he is a yogi, and he is happy when he gets the knowledge and realization about the super soul. So he always meditates. He meditates on within. He's trying to find the Lord. And for him, you give him stone or you give him small stone or big stone or gold, is no use to him. So in this way, he's totally renounced. He doesn't care. So then we go to 6.9. Someone can read.
A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind.
So a person who has reached a level where he sees whether you are friends or helpful people or the envious people, your enemies, and the pious and the sinners, he sees everybody with equal mind. He doesn't differentiate between them. For them, he doesn't really worry about anything. So he is reached such a high level of detachment. Someone even say anything bad about him, he doesn't care. Someone say good about him, also he don't care. It doesn't affect him at all. Why? Because he is always thinking about the Supreme Lord, and he knows that only the Supreme Lord is all in all. I mean, of course, this is very hard. Anyway, this Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, but he's going to tell you exactly, because Arjuna is going to say something that all this is very tough. So, uh, anyway, you just carry on with this chapter, then you'll find out exactly what he means. Okay, number 10. Someone read 10. 6:10.
A transcendentalist should always engage his body, mind, and self in relationship with the Supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feelings of possessiveness.
Yeah, okay. So a transcendentalist should always engage, he's always engaging body, mind, and self of the Lord. And he lives in a quiet place. And he is trying to control his mind. He should be free from desire and feeling of possessiveness. Now that is easier said than done. Supposing you have this feeling that yes, you want to do this, so you will go to a nice place in the jungle and you sit down and you say, I want to become a yogi. So then you have to sit properly and all that. How to sit, all Krishna is going to explain. And you sit, and then while you are doing that, even the mosquito bite you also, you don't feel. Is it practical for any of us? I think if I was sitting there and the mosquito bite me, I was thinking, oh my God, why this mosquito bite me? So painful. Then after that, I will start becoming hungry. Then I was thinking what food to eat. You see, it's not easy, to do all these things. You must be really very high level. And is it possible in the present situation of us? I mean, we are working, or how can we all go into the jungle and all this? It is uh, it's quite impossible. So why is Krishna teaching us all this? Let's see what Krishna says after. Uh, okay, now we come to 6:11. and sure. Someone can read it.
Suchalti si pratistapya sitram asam atmanam nati uchiritam nati nicham chaila jina kusotaram tarai taraikaram manakritva yata chitindriya kriya upavisyasane yujat yat yogam atma visutaye. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
Thank you. So you see, you have to sit in a secluded place, quiet place, and then you must have kusa grass, and then you must sit neither too high nor too low, and you must have a deer skin or a soft cloth. And the deer skin must not, you cannot be killing a deer. You must find a deer who has died and then take the skin and then dry it, and then after that use it. Or if you can't do that, you get a soft cloth. Then you cannot sit too high or too low, and then you must sit in a holy place. You have to find a place that is holy. You must have the intelligence also. Then you sit on it very firmly and you practice yoga. Yoga is trying to, so yoga means what? Connection. Connection to purify the heart so that you can control your mind, senses, and activities, fixing the mind on one point. So I think none of us can do it. So anyway, let's read on. Somebody can read this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Samam kaya siro grivam daryayan akalam sitara sampreksha nasikagram swam disas chanavalokayan prasantatma vigata vir brahmachari ratestita mana samyamya makchito yukta asita mat para. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Thank you, Prabhuji.
There was this one Muni who was such a great yogi. So he thought, let me go to a place, this is from the Bhagavatam, let me go to a place where I won't be disturbed. So he said, if I stay in the jungle, people know I'm a great yogi, they'll come and worship me and all that and disturb me. So he is such a great yogi, he went down into the water and he was meditating in the water for 60,000 years. And then he was such a great yogi, he could meditate in the water, And then one day, he opened his eyes and he saw fish mating, having sex. And then he got agitated and he got a desire to have sex. So then his meditation broke. Then he went up back into the land. And he had this desire. You see, for 60,000 years he was meditating. And suddenly he just see this fish mating, he got this desire. So you just imagine, it's not easy. You will get a problem. Actually, why he's got this fall down. You call it a fall down. A person who is doing spiritual life, suddenly he falls down from the spiritual life. So he's doing meditation, he falls down. So why did he fall down? There must be a reason. It was when he was a Muni on the land. One day Garuda, which is actually the Lord Vishnu's is chariot, is the Garuda, is a Garuda bird. So like you see Indonesia Garuda plane, so it comes from the Vedic Garuda. So anyway, the Garuda, its food is to eat fish because it's a fish eating bird. So then it wanted to eat the fish, and the Muni saw this and he prevented the Garuda from eating the fish. So then that was an offense because he preventing actually Garuda, who is the consort of Lord Vishnu, or rather the chariot of Lord Vishnu, from eating the fish. So in this way, it is not his duty to prevent any animal from eating another animal. That is none of his business because the animal needs to eat another animal as food. So in this way, he was not really understanding spiritual life fully because as we go the verse before, what you must do? You must be free from all thoughts, whether enemy or friend or whatever. You should is you are neutral. You are neutral, and you do not think of friends or enemies. So his mind was not that level, and then he did meditation. So this is very hard situation to do. So it's not practical for us. If you tell me, okay, you must do all this to go to Krishna, I say I think I won't be able to do. I think I forget about the spiritual life and just go and do material things because I'll never make it. If I tell you, okay, go and get a doctor degree, and then you know you will never make it, you will just give up halfway, so you won't even bother. Some people can do it, some people can't. So anyway, uh, it's quite difficult. Let's carry on. Someone can read this.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yunjan ivam sadatmanam yogi niyata manasa santim nirvana paramam mat samstam adiga chati. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So the person, Krishna is saying, you just control yourself, and then you have this life air which comes at the end. You are so much in control with the life air, your soul bursts out from your head and goes back to Krishna. This is the level of austerity that you can do. So in this way, I think this is quite impractical. So Arjuna is going to tell how impractical it is, like how we are thinking now. Why is Krishna speaking all this? Krishna is speaking all this because there are people who can do it. But the number of people who can do it is so less. So it's not practical for us. Okay, now before we go to 16, please. Okay, 6:15, someone read that.
Thus, practicing constant control of the control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist is mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence.
If someone read 16 and 17. Read the Sanskrit.
Nati asnatastu yogosti na chaikantam na hasnata na chati swapya vilasya jas grato naiva karjuna yuktaraha viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna. If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Thank you. So now Arjuna is being told that if you want to become a spiritual person, you cannot eat too much and you cannot eat too little. You cannot sleep too much and you cannot sleep not enough. You know, you cannot do all this. And then if you must be regulated in your habit. Regulated means you must eat the right thing, which is good for you. And then when you're sleeping, also you must not sleep too much. And your recreation means you must do exercise also. You see all these people are doing exercise, yoga exercise. So you have to do all this and work. You must be regulated. You must do work also. To then only actually you come into the mode of goodness. When you reach the mode of goodness, then only you can elevate yourself to spiritual life. Otherwise, you will never go upward. So this is the first step Krishna is telling to us what to do. That you earlier all the things that Krishna told is not possible for us. But this is possible. So now we should start on this. The earlier things is not possible. So this is a person who's meditating on the super soul. In Satyuga, a person lived for 100,000 years. So it's possible to meditate. And then in the Tetra Yuga, you can live up to 10,000 years. So what they used to do, they used to do a lot of sacrifice, the yagyas, big fire sacrifice. And then after that, we come to the age of Dwarpa Yuga, and a person cannot live more than 1,000 years. And in that, they used to do a lot of temple building. They used to build big temples. You can see in India, all these nice big temples they used to build. Very beautiful, you know. And then now in the Kali Yuga, we can't live more than 100 years. So Mahaprabhu, which is none different from Krishna himself, and Nityananda Prabhu, which is none different from Balaram, Mahaprabhu has said the easiest way for us in Kali Yuga is to practice Bhakti Yoga. So Krishna is going to speak to us about Bhakti Yoga. So here we have the different, but this is Durva Maharaj meditating. So he was doing tapasya. In those days, he could. And then he chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Then after a while, he stopped eating. Then after a while, he stopped breathing. And then so much so, he's so powerful that the whole world was shaking. Even the heavenly planets were shaking. And the devas went and asked the Lord, please help us. This person's austerity is too strong. He's disrupting the whole universe. So the Lord said, okay. Then he came in front of Durva Maharaj. And when Durva Maharaj saw the Lord, he was so happy. He bowed down to the Lord. And then the Lord said, you have been meditating for so long. What do you want from me? And then Durva Maharaj was actually meditating because he wanted some material thing. And what was the material thing? He wanted a kingdom bigger than his father's, because his father was, anyway, it's a different story. Anyway, then when he saw the Lord, he said, the Lord, he said, what the Lord asked him, what do you want? He said, I don't want anything. I saw you already, enough. He said, never mind, I want you to get something. So then he blessed him that you will get a kingdom which is bigger than your father. And he said, now you will go back to your father's kingdom, and your father will accept you back, and you will become the king. So in this way, the meditation that he do, we can't do. If we don't breathe for a few minutes or so, we die. So in this way, there are different forms of meditation which are not practical for us. So in childhood, sometimes you need more sleep. In youth, you need certain amount. And then in old age, you need a certain amount. Actually, different amount. But sleep is different for different. Normally, when you become older, you sleep less. When you are young, you sleep more. Baby sleep more. Youth sleep normally about 7 hours. Like that. Old age, you sleep less. You can't sleep so much. So when Krishna says balance, it doesn't mean that everyone from young until old age sleep the same. It's actually neither sleeping too much nor sleeping too little. Okay, so this is the story of Prahlad Maharaj, old age. So of course, when you are a boy, you sleep a certain amount. In your childhood, you sleep a certain amount. In your old age, you sleep certain amount. And then total, how many years you sleep? The duration of Prahlad Maharaj. Boyhood, you sleep 10 years. Childhood, you sleep 10 years. Old age, you sleep 20 years. By the time you reach old age, you reach 20 years. And then which age you reach 30 years. So total in your life, you sleep about 30 years. So if you live 100 years, what happened? 30 years goes. 1/3 of our life goes in sleep. Normally you say, okay, 24 hours, 8 hours of sleep average. So 1/3 of your life goes. So how many percent of life you still have? You don't have much. So Parikshit Maharaj attained perfection in 7 days. Who is Parikshit Maharaj? Let's come to Parikshit. This is Parikshit Maharaj. So he was a king, and he is the grandson of Arjuna. He is a king of the whole world. And somehow or another, he met a person, a boy, or rather a sadhu who was meditating. And the king was very thirsty. So he asked the sadhu, he was in the jungle, can you give me some water? I'm very thirsty. But the sadhu was totally in trance. And then the king got angry and he saw a dead snake he put around the sadhu. And then he went away. And then the sadhu's son, sage son, saw this. And then he said, whoever put this snake on my father's neck, I curse him to die in 7 days. And so in those times, the Brahmanas were very powerful. When they curse someone, the curse works. So anyway, although the boy was actually, he should not have done it. So anyway, the father, when he came, he got up from the trance and he came to know that his son has cursed the king to die in 7 days. He told his son, why you do such a thing? You should not. The king is such a great man. So what is it that he put a snake around me? What's the big deal? There is no big deal. And then immediately the news went to the king. Oh king, in 7 days, you will you will die. So then what happened is the king said, oh, really? That's okay, fine. I'm supposed to die. I'm supposed to die. Lah. So now I give my kingdom up, and then I must go now and find out the truth. In 7 days, I have to become perfect so that I can go back to the spiritual world, because the human form of life is dead. So then he gave up and he came to a place that Sukadeva Goswami was giving, sitting down, and he came and he bowed down to him and said, I will die in 7 days. I want to hear the glories of the Lord. Can you please speak the glories of the Lord? And the Sukadeva Goswami said, okay. So then the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in 7 days and 7 nights, non-stop. In those days, people could do it. You can do not sleep for 7 days and 7 nights. Anyway, non-stop, 7 days and 7 nights was spoken. But some people say that it was only spoken in the daytime, because the Bhagavatam, if you read 7 days for 12 hours or to 14 or 15 hours, you can finish the Bhagavatam. So anyway, maybe just for sleep they did, but there are two versions of it. Someone says 7 days and 7 nights, and someone says just for 7 days. But anyway, he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam, and at the end of the 7 days, the snake bird, there is a special mythical animal, came, bite the king, and the king left his body and went back straight to the spiritual world. So here we have, how long do we have? How many years do we have? Do we have, because 30 years goes in sleep, how many years goes in doing our chores, doing our work? So how many years do we have left to do spiritual life? So the best thing is to do bhakti yoga, which you can do anywhere, anytime, and anyone can do it. See? You can do it in your house. You can do it even when you are with your friends. You can do it when you go to festivals. Anyway, you can do anytime you want. Even when you are a baby also you can do. So before we go to this, okay, someone can read chapter 6, verse 20-23, the English only.
In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater being. There is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actually freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
So Krishna is speaking now that if your mind is controlled and you are restrained from material mental activities, that means you are not attached to the material things, then you will come to a perfection where you can actually see what is truth, and about that you are the spirit soul. and you have a mind which is pure, and you will be very happy. Internally, you will be very peaceful. When you are internally very peaceful, you become very happy, and you become very and when you realize that you are the spirit soul, and that you are actually connected to the Lord, because the Lord is like your father, and the Lord is your supreme Lord, and the Lord is your caretaker. In a way, he takes care of you. So all you have to do is to serve the Lord, and the Lord is actually taking very good care of you. So then you realize through transcendental senses. Your transcendental senses means your spiritual senses. What are your spiritual senses? Your spiritual senses is your realization that you are the soul and you are not the body, and that you are the servant of the Lord. So this is the spiritual senses. So once you understand this, you will understand that there's nothing is more important than being spiritually engrossed, meaning being a spiritual person. And if you are in such a situation, even when the very difficult situations come to you, you will actually not be under tension like this fellow here. You know? So then that is what Krishna is speaking, that we should understand our soul, what we are. And 624, someone can read.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind.
Yes, thank you. So you should understand, you must be very determined that I want to leave this material world at the end of my life. How Raja Parikshit very determined to leave, to go back to the spiritual world. If you have the same determination, Krishna will definitely bring you back this very lifetime. You don't have to come back. But if you fail, what happens when you fail? Later, Krishna will also uh, explain what happens when you fail. So determination is very important, and you must not be deviated from the path. Whatever comes, whatever storm come or good weather come, you don't get deviated. You just say, I want to achieve my goal. You should not abandon, and you should also abandon all. You should not abandon your spiritual, uh, your idea to go back to the spiritual world, and you should abandon all material desires. Material desires means that you should not do things which are not in connected with your duty and with Krishna. So then, actually, Krishna speaks in 25. Gradually, step by step, one becomes situated in trance, and by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and think of nothing else. This one is actually for the yogi who is doing it. So this one doesn't apply to you. So the verse previously applies to the yogi as well as to you. And the verse previous to that is how you control your mind. That in a way, particularly, it does apply to you some part, but this is also for a yogi. Then we go to 26. From whatever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. This is useful. It's applicable to the yogi who is trying to meditate, as well as applicable to us. So you know that certain things can be used for you, certain things cannot. So certain things can be used for both. So you take what you can use. You cannot take all this going into the jungle and meditating, because you won't be able to do it. But this one you can do. From whatever mind wanders due to flickering and unsteady nature, you withdraw. When you think of something, how Krishna speaks, he says that when you meditate on something, then you will desire. In chapter 2 and 3, he said you will desire it. And after you desire, you got lust. So how to control your mind so that you do not meditate on certain things? There is this story, of an older man and a younger man. They were going on a pilgrimage. So then what happened is they came to a river. And they came to a river, there was this young lady. And this young lady could not, was very frightened of, she wanted to go to the other side, but she was very frightened. So then they asked her, what do you want? She said, I need to go to the other side, but I dare not. I'm very frightened. So then the younger man said, oh, we are brahmacharis, we cannot help you. But the older brahmachari said, it's okay. You hop onto my back, we will go through and I will send you back. I will leave you on the other side. So anyway, they went across and he let her down and she went off and they went off. And then the young brahmachari told the older brahmachari, you know something? We are brahmacharis. How can we even do such a thing? How come you allow this woman to hop onto your back and then you bring her? Don't you think it's bad? Then the older brahmachari never said anything. After 1 hour, again the same story also. The younger brahmachari told the older brahmachari. Again, the fellow never said anything. Again, third time also he said. Then the older brahmachari said, you know something? I brought the lady across and I forgot the whole thing about it. But the whole thing is still stuck in your mind. In a way, actually, you are thinking more about it than me. So who is the one who is really contaminated? I think you are contaminated. After 2-3 hours, you're still remembering the same story. So in this way, the mind, you can control the mind not to think of things which are not beneficial to you. And you can prevent your mind from getting drawn. So then we go to 27. Someone can read 27.
The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme and thus is freed from all reactions to past deeds.
Thank you. So whenever you do, your mind is always fixed on Krishna, you will get the highest transcendental happiness, because you know that whenever you think of Krishna, Krishna is always with you. When you think of him, he's with you. Then you will always be happy. And you will not get into the mode of passion. Passion and ignorance are things which you do not want to be. You want to be in the mode of goodness. So this is applicable to the yogi and is also applicable to you. So we go to 28.
Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord.
So this yogi who was meditating all does this. But then Krishna also says, this is also applicable to you. But how is it applicable? You become in the bhakti yogi. You can become a bhakti yogi. Later on, Krishna will explain how you become a bhakti yogi in next chapter. So you just remember that you're always engaged in Krishna conscious. You will become free from material contamination and you will get the highest happiness in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Okay, so now we come to 29. Someone read.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees everything being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
Thank you. So whenever you see nature, you say, "Oh, the Lord has created this nature so beautiful." Wherever you go, wherever animals you see, you say the Lord has created all these animals. And later on, you see everything is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is independent of the Supreme Lord. Everything you see in relation to the Supreme Lord. So if you have this type of feeling, at the end of your life, you will definitely remember the Supreme Lord only. When you're always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. It also helps you in remembering the Supreme Lord and always be thinking, so that you will always be actually associated with the Lord. Okay, number 30, someone can read.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Yeah, because you always think, remembering Krishna, you will never be lost. And Krishna says that he is never lost to me. I always will be looking at him. I always will be protecting him. Okay, number 31.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
So a yogi, a person who is spiritual, who always worships the super soul. What is the super soul? We have the soul in our heart, and we have the Paramatma, which is the super soul. The expansion of the Lord in everyone's heart is the super soul. So if you understand that the soul, if you always engage in the worship of the super soul, you know that the Lord is within your heart and you're always praying to the Lord. And you know that I and the super soul are one. There is no difference between the soul and the super soul. The only difference is the super soul is full, but we are like sparks, like the fire and the spark. We are minute, but the super soul is complete. So in this way, the qualities in the super soul are complete. The qualities in the soul are minute, but we are eternally both. Uh, we are actually eternally the same, in the sense that we are always, we will never die, and we will always be together. In the sense, we are always the servants of the Lord. So in this way, if you carry on your service to the Lord, and you understand that the Lord and are non-different, so you will understand Krishna, exactly what Krishna is made of, and what how you are different from Krishna and how you are same with Krishna. Okay, then you come to 32. Someone can read.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and in their distress, O Arjuna.
So then, if you are a Krishna conscious person, you will actually not see any difference between yourself and other people. You all know that uh, all of you are part and parcel of the Lord, and you see that equality in all human beings in both happiness and distress. There is no difference between happiness and distress when you are coming to Krishna conscious. So you don't get conditioned by the material nature. You say happiness is temporary, distress is also temporary. So you're understanding your soul. Your soul is not affected by happiness and distress. It is above. So now Arjuna is going to ask a question, 33. Someone can read. Someone read on the board. Arjuna what?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Archana Uvacha. Yo yam yoga stvoya prokta samyena madhusudana idashyam na pashyami chankalatvat sityam sri ram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So actually Arjuna is speaking what we are speaking. We can't do this stuff, yoga, Krishna. I know we will get self-realization, but then it's very tough what you're speaking. It's we can't even control our mind. How you want us to have such a austere situation? So then someone can read this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati palavadram pasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva suduskaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and the subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So you see, the mind is very restless. How this is the Atma consciousness. This is the intellect. Intellect is holding the mind and the senses. These are the senses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 senses. And the mind is holding, and the intellect is trying to control, and the Atma is there. So it says it's very hard to control the senses, Krishna. How you expect me to do? It's very difficult. I think it's difficult. Whatever you're telling me to go and do all this tapasya and all this control and all very tough. I can't do it. Someone can read.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamsayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Apyasena tu Kautaya Vairagya Yena Chagrihitaye. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Okay, so now Krishna is understanding that what Arjuna is speaking. He knew, but he gave him the difficult part of going back to the spiritual world. So now Krishna says, okay, what you say is true. It's very hard. Let's see what Krishna explains. He says it's possible by suitable practice and by detachment. How does he mean? Let's see. Someone can read this.
Arjuna Uvacha Ayati Sri Yopeto Yoge Chalita Manasa Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati Kachino Paya Vikrasta Chinna Biram Iva Nasyati Aprastito Mahabaho Vimodo Brahmapati. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later deceased due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? O mighty armed Krishna, O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a person who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Thank you. So before this, Krishna, he was Krishna said in 36, he said, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult. But one whose mind is controlled and strives for appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. So Arjuna heard that if you can control your mind, it's okay. So then Arjuna had doubt, that I try and control my mind. Maybe in the beginning it's successful. Later it's no more successful because I fail. So he says, what happens to a person who becomes a spiritual person, comes to Krishna conscious, comes to spiritual life, and then after a while, because of his desires in his heart, which are unfulfilled still, and he could not really clear his heart of desires for material things, he gives up and he goes back and he does all this material enjoyment and he stops doing spiritual things. So, so then this person, he came to spiritual life and then he was not successful in spiritual life and then he went back to material life. So all these things that he has done, isn't it a waste of time? So then this is what Krishna says. Can someone read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prapya punya kratam lokam usitva saswate sama suchinam srimatam gehe yoga brasto bijayate atava yoginam eva kule bhavati dimatam etat di drulabha taram loke janma yad idsam. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy, or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So you see, Krishna's answering is that even if you do devotional service or come to spiritual life, come to Krishna, and you do some service for him, don't worry. And then you leave this spiritual life. What happens to him? Arjuna asking. Krishna says that if you do it for a short while, your spiritual life, you'll be born next life in a family of rich people, because in the family of rich people, you do not have to work so hard to money. Then you can actually continue your spiritual life. But if you have done spiritual service to the Lord for a long time and you leave it, and you don't go back to the spiritual world because you left it. So the next life, I put you in the family of devotees like this, so you can carry on. From young, you can come in contact with devotional service and become a devotee faster. So he says in the next few verses, Krishna says, don't worry, there is no loss. Anything you do spiritual, your next life you carry on. Anything you do material, you have to leave it behind, and your next life you do not take it with you. So Krishna says in 43, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. So if you do anything now, even though you fall down and you stop becoming a spiritual person, it's no loss. Next life you will continue, you will remember. And by virtue of divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles. Next life, you will again have this thing that I want to go back. I want to do it. So even sometimes, people, they come to spiritual life after they leave. and they go and do material things, and they go and enjoy material things which are not beneficial for them. After a while, they get fed up, they come back to spiritual life. There are many cases also like this. So anyway, uh, this is what happens. So someone can read this.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prayanat yada manastu yogi samsuda kilbisha aneka janma samsidas tato yadi param gatim. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection of many birth of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
So this yogi, Krishna says, don't worry, ultimately he comes to me. But then the situation in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna read later on when you read, he says that, you don't have to go many births. You just this lifetime do it. It is possible. And he will explain in chapter 7 to 12 how is possible. So Krishna is explaining that don't worry, a person who does spiritual things after many births come to me. So do you want to take many births? No, right? I hope not. Maybe you want to be the last birth? Yes. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if you read the Bhagavad Gita and you practice what I say, this very lifetime I take you back. You don't worry. This one he's telling to Arjuna in the beginning all the things, all the difficult situations of how all different people are doing, the way they are doing. Later he explained nicely. So this is the last verse someone can read. I think times is also up also.
Yogini yoginam api sarvesam madgatanantar atmanam sradavan bhajanti yumam sami yukta tamo mata. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Okay, now this last verse, Krishna has already spoken that there are many types of yogis. There are not only one. One is the one who meditates on me, another one who does this and that. So many things Krishna has spoken. But he's now giving us a hint of the next 6 chapters which are going to come. Of all the yogis, one who renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga. Yoga is connection and is the highest of all. Who does this remind you of? Which is the greatest devotee of Krishna? Who is always thinking of Krishna? Who has done transcendental loving service to Krishna? And who has done no tapasya, no meditation. Who is it? Radharani. She is the topmost yogi. So you see, Radharani, did she do much reading of the scriptures? No. What did she go and meditate? No. But she is the topmost yogi. She is even higher than all these yogis who are meditating. Why? Because she has always thinking of Krishna. She wants to be always doing service for Krishna. And without Krishna, she's just like lost. So in this way, Krishna says that the highest yogi is the one who does transcendental loving service. So he's already giving you a hint. And the next 6 chapters, he's telling you how to get the highest transcendental loving service to him. So thank you very much. We are just 1 minute away from 9 o'clock. I know my class a bit long, 1.5 hours. I'm sorry if it's too long for you, but I hope you understand. So, any questions? So to recap, all this, doing all this tapasya is not useful for you, but the the point which Krishna says that after doing all this trance and all this control of senses, all, he tells you that this you will think of me, that one you can take it. And finally at the end, Krishna is speaking that do transcendental loving service to me. How to do, we will do in the next 6 chapters. So in this way, you don't have to take many births. Krishna says after many births, they will come to him. But later on, the next 6 chapters, Krishna tells you that you don't have to take many births. This very lifetime, you can come back to me. So in this way, make your life successful by always not doing things which are not beneficial to you, which makes you materially entangled. Do things which are spiritually elevating, and they will give you the, the happiness that you are looking for. In this world, you're always looking to be happy. So this real happiness is by connecting yourself with the Lord and doing everything. You think, okay, this action I want to do. Would Krishna be happy if I do? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, don't do it. That's all, very easy. Okay, I want to do this. Will Krishna be happy if I want to do this? If the answer is yes, do it. If the answer is no, don't do it. So it's quite easy, and then you just do things which are useful to you, beneficial for you, and then perfect your life. Okay? So I stop here. Any questions? Sorry, I'm only talking. Any question? Any comments also can? No? Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Subhadra. Thank you, Saru.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Ken, Subhashini, Tati, Shiva, Charanjit, and Harminder. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Good night,
Krishna.
everyone.
Thank you,
Night.
Prabhu. Good night.
Good night.